This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
I knew there was more to life on Earth than what we were being taught. Valeria Teles interviews Amy Dempster, a grid keeper and the owner of blog Following Hawks. Amy Dempster helps in understanding the healing power of the Earth. What began as openly sharing her spiritual journey on her popular blog Following Hawks has become a resource for others wanting to learn how to communicate with nature and share their own unique healing gifts with the Earth. Together with the spirits of the land in the mountains of northwest Montana, she tends 7 portals on the land where she lives, along with any grid keeping work she is assigned. She also leads the Earth Tenders Academy, an immersive online journey to help others reestablish their connection with their ancient ancestors, learn to communicate with the seen and unforeseen forces in their environment, and respectfully offer their healing energy to places in need. Amy is also the host of the podcast, The Earth Keepers. Meet Amy at followinghawks.com. Here is the interview with Amy Dempster.
In your own words, who is Amy Dempster?
Oh my goodness, such a big question. But I think of myself as a very multidimensional being, existing in many different places and times, all at the same time. And so me here embodied as Amy Dempster is just a fractal of that big piece that is all me. But while I'm here in this earthly incarnation, I'm just very, very connected to the earth and the grids and, all of the energies that are available to us in that way. And I just really love sharing all that I discover with others who feel the same calling and connection.
How did this come to be, this being aware that we are in a human body and all that entails, the being multidimensional? How did that happen, Amy?
Yeah, well, it's kind of been piece by piece, step by step for me over the years of really understanding how all of that works. But I would say in the past couple of years, it has really fast forwarded as far as, probably what I would have referred to in the past as, my guides coming and sharing information and saying, this is how this works. And this is, try this. This is this is how time works, this is how all of the pieces go together. And really through that process, what I started to understand is that, these other kind of beings on the other side of the veil and other energies that are coming to teach me and interact with me are, for the most part, they're all me. And that was really when I kind of had this aha moment of, it's the other versions of me that already have figured these things out or already understand how it works. And they're popping in to say, hey, let me help you out and show you something that you already know, that you're already doing. And so, really once I started putting those pieces together, it really opened a lot of my awareness and my understanding up that it's not necessarily these, scary unknown things outside of us that are, suddenly popping in on us
Right, right.
to tell us something. It's really just, it's all us. And that's a very cool understanding once it all comes together.
It is, yeah. It's fascinating to me that we can even talk about this. How can we
Right.
have a conversation about it?
I sure didn't think I would be a number of
Right.
years ago. So.
Right, right. And when it comes to everything's us, yeah, I do. Wow, that's for the mind, for the intellectual mind, the rational mind, that's such a challenge to understand that. But the soul understands, the heart understands the other parts of me that you call it more
Yes.
advanced, more evolved. And I'm wondering if even people, the people around us, they are also parts of us.
Yeah, well, it really is. There's many levels of this, knowing, and of course, yeah, I think we're all familiar with the idea that we're really all just one on
Yeah,
a
yeah,
much bigger level, and
right.
so we're all just a piece of source. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, seeing, interacting with others, and having lived experiences with others, or just other
Mhm.
opportunities, to see how other versions of ourselves are learning their own lessons and
Yeah.
having their own experiences, and then interacting and engaging with us. It really can start bending your brain pretty,
Right.
pretty
Yes.
quickly when you focus and think about it.
The only thing that prevents us to really live it, embody it, is the rational mind, what we call the ego mind. Some call it the false self. Would you say
Yeah.
that that's the only obstacle to living, embodying that magic?
Yeah, I think that's a struggle for most of us,
Yeah.
because we were born and, grew up in whatever culture or society shaped our ideas and our beliefs. And, what I've really come to know and see in evidence all around me is that, one of the laws of the universe really is that our beliefs are what the universe honors and will reflect back to us. So long as you are holding tightly to one belief, you're only going to see evidence that that's true. And
Right.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that's what
Yeah.
most of us go through on our spiritual awakening and our journey too, is like, oh gosh, okay, maybe I will just loosen up my grip on this one idea and this one thought and just see what happens. And then a
Right.
whole nother world opens up to you, and you realize it was there all along. But my beliefs and my understanding of the world really kept me in one place. And so, yeah, it's really the more we can kind of loosen up our need to know for sure what the answer
Right.
is, or knowing that you have the right answer, instead of maybe feeling like maybe everybody has the right answer. Like maybe
Right.
maybe your answer is unique to you. Those are the things that, just kind of asking yourself that, like, what if I didn't believe this, or what if there was something else that was true, really can start showing you that there's other options out there.
Yeah. Can we navigate this reality without a belief system, Amy?
I mean,
That's,
I wonder that too. It's almost the
yeah.
chicken and the egg, right? Like,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you if, is to not believe anything still a belief system? I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like, how
Right.
far can
Yeah.
you go to really, release it all? And that can feel really scary. And
Yes.
I don't know that I'm there. But so I try and be in a place of flexible
Yeah.
beliefs. So, this is my understanding today, but I may have another experience tomorrow that might change that understanding, and I'm willing to explore that.
Stay open. Yeah, that might be the
Right,
key. I agree.
right.
And in speaking about experiences, the spiritual awakening, spiritual experiences, powerful ones that so many of us have had, you had, I had one too. So talk to me about that, about your spiritual journey, and also what is spirituality to you?
Yeah, well, my journey really started much more clearly as an adult. And, although I grew up on a farm and was surrounded by nature all the time growing up, which maybe just felt natural to me. And so I wasn't paying attention
Right.
to, things that really were happening. But, over time, I went to school, I got a job. I was, living in the suburbs, working in the city, doing all of those things. And it was just as time went by, feeling more and more out of alignment for me. And around that time, I started having some unusual interactions with hawks, like the bird, would just keep coming to me much closer than I'd ever experienced them doing before.
Right.
And I had enough of them in a short enough period of time that I finally had to say, something's going on here.
Right.
What is this? Is someone giving me a message? Is, what's happening? And I realize now that I think that we all have some kind of spark on our journey, and some are more dramatic than others. But, there's ultimately, it's something that makes you do exactly that. It makes you start questioning and looking around really to say, what's happening here? And so that was kind of the initial, part of my journey that kind of led me down this path to at least, experimenting more with meditation and using my intuition and those types of things. And it was a number of years later when I kind of, took a big leap in listening to my intuition and the messages that were coming through to me, and quit my job, sold my house, and moved to Montana, a place that I didn't know anybody and had never visited before. And it just, all of the pieces fell into place. And so shortly after moving to Montana was when I started noticing trees were talking to me.
Oh, wow.
And that was a really big kind of shock as well, of like, I'm pretty sure this is happening, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to tell anyone.
Right.
So yeah, it's just kind of been like a step-by-step process of being, comfortable enough to also share that with other people, and really, going on my own journey to learn really, how does this communication work? How is the earth and nature communicating with us all of the time? And how can we work together and, co-create this place that we live in? And so that was, that's the real short version of the of my story. But yeah, I mean, I think to me, spirituality is really just this, this path of going inward to really learn more about ourselves and what that means. And it means something different for everybody. And everybody has their, their own experiences and their own journey. But just the willingness and the interest to go on that journey and see what happens.
Yeah, and discover or uncover the magic. Right.
Yeah. It's there. It's all around us if we're willing to.
Yeah, and it is.
Accept that it is.
Yes. Nature. When I think about nature, wow, we are not separate from nature. We are nature itself. And that's funny how we speak of nature as being something separate, but
Exactly.
We are nature. But what is it about trees and the land and the ocean that it's deeper than what we can touch in ourselves most of the time? It seems like we can be in touch with the depth of what life is all about, or what life really is, that magic per se, when we are in touch with nature, not being separate from human beings, but from the intellect, the mind. So what is that about nature that connects us to the spirit?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, a lot of it is completely biological and scientific
Right.
in the way that, because we are a part of nature and we are a part of earth, our bodies are designed to resonate with the earth. And so, actual studies have been done on a variety of different healing modalities, and really kind of measuring the frequency that's really being delivered during, somebody doing a Reiki treatment, or somebody doing shamanic healing or whatnot. And all of the frequencies that are being used in healing modalities are the exact same frequency that the earth vibrates at. So
Right.
literally, that's why we feel so good when we go outside,
Yeah. Yes.
because our
Yeah.
body is getting that natural healing instantly because it's what we resonate with. So that's why we like to put our hands on trees. That's why we like to sit on the ground or walk barefoot on the earth, because we are receiving a healing when that happens. But partially we need the healing because we've separated ourselves so much,
Yes.
as opposed to, if we were in contact, all day, every day, it would just be a natural part of our being. And so, yeah, so part of what is so magical about it is just that, our biology works with, and our electromagnetic frequency works along with the earth. And then on the deeper level, there's just, we have really isolated ourselves into, things that can, speak with language
Yeah.
from
Right.
things that
Right.
can't speak with language, as,
Yes.
being
True.
on some kind of hierarchy, instead of understanding that literally everything on earth is communicating energetically and telepathically with each other all the time. We are the only ones standing on the outside and shrugging our shoulders and saying, well, too bad that tree can't talk. I wish I
Yeah.
would know what that deer over there is thinking. Well, you can. And so I think that those are the things sometimes we assign magic to, when really we're the ones that have not evolved to the same level of just
Right.
telepathic communication and ability to communicate with the beings in our environment in that way. And so just understanding that communication is different than using language, and that it might be pictures, and it might be feelings, and it might be, all kinds of different things. Once we understand that and we learn how to kind of read that in our own bodies,
Right.
a whole nother world opens up, and we can
Yeah.
communicate with all kinds of things around us.
I absolutely love being outside
Yes.
around nature. But yeah, I have not been open enough to the communication to listen to it. Or perhaps yes, but in a different level, which is it's more imagined. It feels like imagination to me.
It is. And our imagination is something we need.
Right.
We've been told that it's making things up, but it's not.
Right.
It's actually how the information comes into our body. And so, nature communicates typically much slower
Yeah.
and more subtly. And so we really do, when we're outside, have to kind of downshift our energy
Yeah.
in our body so
Right.
that we can pick it up and recognize it. And that's usually what I suggest as a first step, is just going outside, leaving your phone behind. Don't go out with other people, just be by yourself and walk half as fast, or even a third as fast as you
Right.
would normally go on a walk, and be specifically looking for things that catch your attention. And that's all it has to be, a particularly beautiful flower, a tree that somehow has a different color green than all the other trees around it. That is communication, and they're calling out to us to catch our attention, but we just tend to, speed right past them and not notice.
A lot of times, most of the time, I go out with my husband, so we do it together. It's
Yep.
not really alone, but you mentioned being alone. It's important.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be. If you are out with another person who is looking to accomplish the same thing
Yeah.
you are, then you can have more kind of moments of quiet while you're looking and tuning in and feeling into the energy around you. It tends to be when we're with someone else, we get into conversation and we're
True.
chatting away, and
Yeah.
then we start walking faster at the speed of our language, and we just stop, we're just not noticing. So,
True.
yeah, I do it too.
And would you say the thoughts, they are the main actually component of separation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Sometimes, like I said, the communication coming from nature it comes through your thoughts.
Right,
So
right.
sometimes, you need them. It kind of depends on how you're doing it. But I think probably the way you're thinking of this is where, that kind of busy mind,
Yeah,
where we're busy thinking about,
right.
what we're going to make for dinner, or what,
Yeah.
that conversation we had with somebody earlier. And I mean, I am 100% guilty of
Tell
getting
me about
sucked
it.
into my mind while I'm, supposed to be outside, enjoying nature as well. And so, yeah, sometimes it's a matter of, do you really need your mind? Does your mind really need to work this out, and you need to go down this line of thinking and then you can be done with it? Or is this just obsessive repetitive thinking that's
Yeah.
just filling this kind of empty space that isn't empty at all, but it's kind of, a sledgehammer to your more sensitive, subtle skills. And so one of the things I like to do if you have a really busy mind is either before you go outside, or you could do it, the first 10 minutes or so while you're outside, is you can put headphones on and listen to binaural beats,
Yeah.
which, is like the brainwave entrainment. And so you can do that first to kind of let your brain downshift into that I always forget which one they are. If it's like alpha waves or theta waves, or what they are, but it lets you downshift into kind of releasing that. So you can just spend 10 minutes kind of, okay, relax, get into a little bit more of a meditative state, and now go outside. And, maybe that helps release some of the chatter that's in your mind.
So thoughts are not really what separates us, but it's when they disconnect us from everything else, from life itself, what's happening now in the surroundings. That's when we know we are not in touch with the depth of who we are.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction.
Yeah.
Very, very different quality of thought.
2020 has been a different time. So what insights have you gained from 2020, Amy?
Oh my goodness. So many, right? Which I think we can all say. It's been transformational for us in many ways. And kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about shifting our beliefs and those types of things, I think I've really seen that over the course of the past year as well, is almost how much we have needed to be pulled into extreme duality in order to see how strongly it's ingrained, And so I think it's easy for us to think about and want and feel into this idea of unity consciousness, right? That we're all one, and we think, yeah, I'm there. Absolutely, I believe it. And then you get on Facebook and you are suddenly in a fight with somebody over whatever the topic du jour of the day is. And you're like, oh, wow, I actually can't release that. That's something for me to work on. And so I think I've really seen that, kind of play out everywhere as, this just like extreme duality, and everybody, really feeling the need to be right or again, like their truth is the right truth. And so I think in going through that, we're having the experience of what divine neutrality really feels like, or what does it really look like? And, how far away are we from this place where we can let everyone have their experiences and, and be in our own experience? And so that's been really clear to me, how much, even in the sense of your experience and my experience are completely different experiences, and we're living in totally different, timelines of our own creation. And so what do we want to create for ourselves? And so, I think I've experimented a lot more with kind of creating my reality, and what does that look like? And how do I do that? So,
That sounds like fun, doesn't it? Creating our own reality.
I tried to make it fun, because otherwise, it's been a stressful year. So, I think we all have to look at opportunities to, what am I learning here? How can I create something different if I don't like where I'm at the moment?
When we talk about creating our own reality, that also makes me think about the purpose of life, of being a human body. If there was just one purpose, what would you say that is? What that was?
Well, I think the kind of singular purpose that it feels like to me is really just this idea of, growth and expansion of our individual experiences, but then our individual experiences being collective, So each one of us is contributing to the growth of all that is. And that's as of today, how I feel into it.
Yeah, that resonates to me. Expansion, evolving. As we have been talking about, being open to these, to seeing more of what life is. that connectivity, right?
Yeah.
Another question I have that I usually ask everyone pretty much, it's freedom. What is freedom to you? What does it look like?
I mean, I think kind of along the same lines of creating our own experiences. And, and so to me, continuing to look at places either in my own mind, my own heart, or my own, external experiences that is this okay with me? Do I like where this is going? Am I enjoying my experience? And, of course, we don't all have, peak joyful experiences, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I
Yeah.
don't know if we could handle it. It
Interesting
sounds great.
insight. Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, are there places in where I am letting others kind of either restrict me or hold me back or keep me from exploring what I want to explore? And when I say others, it's usually ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
we believe, so and so, like my boss at my job, if he wasn't such a jerk,
Yeah,
and
right.
usually it's just like, well, where does this fall to me? What changes do I need to make if this isn't acceptable to me and I feel like my freedom is being restricted in some way? So, yeah, really focused on really, I guess, proving that I can, create my own experience.
On your website, you said something interesting. You said, when doing healing work, it can sometimes be frustrating to feel like we just keep getting pulled back to work on the same issue time and again. Talk to me about healing for a moment, Amy, and how does it really work from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, and even the term healing is something we've kind of agreed upon.
Yeah, right, yes,
What it
yeah,
means or what it is. But to me, it's restoring something to its original source. God-given status, whatever that would be. So, anything else that has occurred in this lifetime, another lifetime on Earth, not on Earth, wherever that has is now held somewhere in our energy body, our physical body, and is there directing us or holding us back or any number of types of things. And so and same with my work obviously is really focused on healing work with the earth. And a lot of what I come across is just human trauma, human made situations that get, the energy from it gets left behind on the earth. And until, we come along and actually intend to assist to clean it up in this physical plane, it sits there and it affects the people that live in the place. It affects the earth. It affects everything until we can make that shift. Yeah, I think we have all certainly experienced in our own healing how, you work on something and you're like, there,
yeah, right.
it's fixed, right? And then
Yeah.
a year or so later, it comes up, but in a different way.
Right.
And you realize, oh, there's still something here for me to learn. But usually when you have that perspective and that time, you can look back and say, oh, but look how much has changed. It's really not just the same thing again. It's just, showing me where there's more I can work on.
Yeah. You don't believe in destinations when it comes to healing.
No, and I mean, I think we're also ever changing, and I think we're ever changing, and really, again, when you can remove this idea of time being linear, and that it's happening in many timelines, and that there are all of these other versions and other fractals of ourselves, there's things that are occurring in other timelines that are rippling forward and backward, between this version of ourselves and other versions of ourselves. And so really we're forever kind of integrating that and bringing it all together.
What is your understanding and idea of the word love, or what love is?
Yeah, well, I just think that it's another idea in current culture that's been watered down, and that we have almost dismissed it or marginalized it, or in some ways made it less important by kind of attaching like the sugary sweet candy heart ideas to it. And my experience of love is completely the opposite, right? That it is the most powerful energy in the universe. And so I think we're shifting into this new age, this new energy where we are not going to have any choice but to be operating from our hearts. Like that's what we've been pushed, and we're being pushed right now. And I was feeling it a lot towards the end of last year, especially of getting into your heart and operating from your heart. And it's because the heart really is a vehicle. And that energy of love is a vehicle to travel to other dimensions, to shift your consciousness, to do all of these things. And if we want to have those experiences and we want to be in that place, we have to be in our heart. And so for a lot of us, what that means is doing healing work on, where you're struggling to be in that place. And so that's been me too for many years. And really getting to that place where you feel safe and comfortable with the vibration of love, the strength and the power of love, and really being able to work with it and vibrate it, out into the universe.
Yeah, I love your wisdom, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the Earth Tenders Academy.
Yeah. So the Earth Tenders Academy is offering that I have that is an online 9-module course, but it really is me kind of taking you by the hand and walking you through all of the ways in which to learn about working with the earth, experience it for yourself, connect with the spirits of the land where you live, or anywhere else that you would like to work. And really, we dive into some of these more multidimensional topics, like working with portals and being multidimensional, working with timelines, removing old timelines, all kinds of things like that. But ultimately, we work up to how to do healing work with the earth. How exactly do you do that? And then we practice. And so we have a couple of live calls every month where we do property readings and healings with the land, and have a great supportive Facebook community as well. And so it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people who feel drawn to this work and drawn to working with the earth to learn how to do it and experience it for themselves.
We're almost at the end, and I have so many questions here, but I'll try. Let me see which one to ask now. I guess the one that I want to ask is about this communication with Earth, with the nature. When you had to or have this experience or these experiences, what are they trying to communicate?
So many things.
Yeah,
there really is, the earth has always been here, and, as humanity has shifted and come and gone. And so much of the wisdom that we would like access to, or we wish we knew the answers, right? The mountains, the trees, the earth itself, are all happy to share this with people who are interested enough to, ask and connect in that way. But it runs a wide gamut. I mean, it can be trees, especially, will tell you to pick up trash.
Right.
They'll, cut back this branch, it's bothering me, so it can be much more simple things initially, as they're kind of getting to know you and getting to trust you and feel comfortable with you. But it really can go into really deep healing work. It's interesting because I think that we like to think, all of these other spirits or other energies are somehow either more evolved, or they're smarter, or they're, what do they need us for? They don't need us.
Right.
But they absolutely do. And as you're saying, like, we are part of the ecosystem. We are part of nature. Things wouldn't function the same way without humans here, but we have withdrawn from our role in many cases of working in that way. And so what they really, really need us for, especially, is that our energy being here embodied on the earth anchors healing work into this plane. And so they can do all kinds of ceremonies and work and whatever they want on the spiritual plane, and it will have a certain effect. But when they're able to partner with human who is currently embodied, it's like you're anchoring that work that they're doing here, and it can actually have, take effect and be real in this plane. And so oftentimes I will encounter spirits who want to do ceremony. They want to do a ceremonial work. They know what they want to do. They have it all planned. They literally just want me to sit there and hold space. And in holding space, I'm bringing that energy forward into this time. And so, it's a huge range. I learn something new every time
Yeah, I can imagine.
I do a reading or a healing, all the time I'm saying, well, I've never done that before. Well, I've never seen that before. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of things that are going on. And, just our
Mm,
willingness to
mm.
be a part, hold space, participate is more than a lot of these energies are encountering on a regular basis. So they are usually thrilled when
Oh,
a human comes
wow.
along and says, how can I help here? The energy feels weird. What can I do?"
I have to ask you this question too. So the energetic portals that you speak of, sacred places in nature, why are they in specific places? What is the reason for that?
Yeah, so there's a few reasons. When you're working with portals, there are the short version is that a portal is in a place because the energy supports it,
Right.
and so that is on a scale. Right? So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are portals where the high vibrational energy supports it, and these are very high vibrational portals with energies that beings that are using them that match that frequency. And there are places, and these are usually the ones, right, that I hear from people that they have an icky portal in their closet, right? And I always laugh because I'm like, why is it always a closet? I don't or,
Right.
but
Yeah.
something like that, where it'll be like, there's weird things happening, in my closet. But
Yeah.
usually those portals are kind of they can be spontaneously opened, but I don't want to also give people the impression that it's super easy to do. It usually, if it's a low vibrational thing, like it's in a place where somebody was in a ton of pain or in a very, again, just low vibrational place in their life. And it allows that energy to open up and to be using that space. And so, and then of course there's all kinds of different versions in the middle. And
Yeah.
so it kind of depends on the portal and it depends on the place. But I do have portals here on the property where I live that I work with. And that's what the spirits explained to me, that over time, over a few years of doing this energetic work here, it lifted the vibration to a point where they were able to have these portals here, and it's a safe, high frequency place for them to access in and out.
One of your episodes, so you do host a podcast as well that is titled the Earth Keepers Podcast. You share how focusing on the light and ignoring the dark is a recipe for disaster, why darkness is not something to be afraid of.
Yeah.
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 Talk to me for a moment about that, Amy.
Yeah, it's really, and you're right. I mean, sometimes even my language, right, high and low vibrational, it
Yeah,
is still
right. Yeah.
100% in duality, right? It all
Yes.
just
Yeah.
is.
Yes. Right.
It
Right.
just is. There are things we like more than things
Sure.
we like more than other things. And yeah, absolutely. That goes for spirits as well. And it is, I think, unfortunately, sometimes I come across ways of thinking that's just like, hey, if you just stay in a high vibrational state, that's the only thing you're ever going to experience. And so that's why I
Yeah.
say that that's a
Yeah.
recipe for disaster,
Right.
because there's other things out there in the universe. There just are. And
Yes.
so there are
Yeah.
ways you can protect yourself. There are ways you can learn how to discern different energies so that you know what type of energy, fits the type of energy you want to be communicating with or not. But, there are things that and energies that you just don't want hanging around in your bedroom. Like that's not going to be fun for you. And so, yeah, so that's really why I teach and share about, not necessarily to fear it, because again, and this goes back to being in that love vibration and being, as humans embodied on earth, we are connected to source, and therefore we are, we have the most powerful energy there is. All of these other things are more afraid of us, than we
Yeah.
are of them. And so I always reference the Monsters Inc. Was it the second Monsters Inc? Maybe, but the movie where, the monsters are scaring the children, but actually they're terrified if the children touch them. Like they have to go through the whole decontamination, system because the children are so dangerous. But, that's really the case as well, is that we just have, our power has been either taken away from us over the years, or we're just not taught how it works. And so once we understand that we're in charge of our personal, body, we're in charge of our house, we are in charge of, the spaces that we're in, then we can choose kind of what vibration is allowed in those spaces or not. And so I just feel like it's really important to know what we can and can't do, what abilities we have, because most people who have a real fear, especially, had an experience that scared them when they were children. And so they shut everything down. They didn't want to do any more interacting, and they are scared to open it back up and have another scary experience. And so, it really is just a process of understanding. And usually once you have one experience where you say, oh, I did tell them they weren't allowed here and they left,
Right.
That's it, it really,
Right.
but we have to know and understand that about our own power and about, how much control we really have.
What is another word for healing?
Oh, I mean, to be whole, to return to that original point of wholeness.
What was the hardest lesson to learn about yourself and life as of today?
Oh my goodness. Wow, who knows?
Right.
I would say, though, what's coming through at the moment is really that lesson to trust myself, and in all things, right? That there are so many places and times in our life where it's easier for us to either just say, even that, maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's all in my head.
Right.
Maybe it's okay to just let that person, act that way, even though it's really upsetting to me. Right. All of the things that, maybe it's just me. But maybe it is just you in the way that, that is how you feel and that is how you trust yourself. And so really learning and experiencing kind of step by step of using my voice and, stepping into a place of trust and that I am protected and that I am on, my own journey and having my own experiences, I think has been a big lesson for me.
I think I can relate to it for sure, and I'm sure most of us can. That trust component, yeah, that's a tough one to get there. Two more questions. If you knew you would die soon, meaning leaving the body, would you make any change in your life or do anything in a different way?
I don't know if I would. I mean, I'm sure there's things, right, once you're exactly in that moment where
Yeah.
you think, oh, I'd never have done this or gone to that place or done that type of thing. But I try really hard to, enjoy the fact that I am embodied, that I do have a life and I am lucky for that experience. There are many, many souls who would love to be here on earth right now. And we're the lucky ones who are. And that's really how I try and look at my life every day and really try and embrace doing the things I want to do when I want to do them and hopefully not waiting until the end to realize I have to hurry up and do a whole bunch of things.
And the last question is, what are three things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
I don't know. I mean, this is the theme, right? I don't know if I know anything.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
What are my beliefs today?
Yeah.
But I mean, really, I definitely know for sure, that we are intended to be in cooperation, in partnership together with nature and with the earth and with each other. And so the more that we can experience that and put ourselves in situations for that to be more of our daily occurrence, the more we're going to see our life change for the better. And so that's my biggie, I think.
Yeah, and it is a huge one for me too. Thank you so much, Amy, for your beautiful, lighthearted, presence, your wisdom, timeless wisdom, the work that you do, and everything in between. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was lovely, lovely hanging out with you.
Before we say goodbye, where can we find more information about you, your work, products, services, and future projects?
Yeah, well, you can find me online. My website is Following Hawks. Again, just like the birds, I'm at followinghawks.com. And my podcast is the Earth Keepers podcast. And I'm also on Instagram at Following Hawks. And I have a Facebook group, the Following Hawks Earth Keepers community.
Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye for now, Amy.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Amy Dempster and her work, please visit followinghawks.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.